Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Ghoulfriend Hour. I'm your host, your ghost host, Morgan Fezza.
And I'm your host ghost, Rachel Faust. And it's not True Crime Tuesday.
It's not True Crime Tuesday. That is right. So Rachel has become a permanent part of the team and is going to still host True Crime Tuesdays. But then also, she is now a part of just the Ghoulfriend Hour forever
Just
and
jump in
ever.
and all the craziness.
Till death do us part, Rachel.
There it is.
Till death.
Forever.
We had to take it extra spooky on that one. But yeah, so big news. Taylor is currently in Canada and she got engaged. So I'm so excited. Big congratulations to Taylor and Patrick. So me and Rachel decided for her first episode, we're just going to take over the Ghoulfriend Hour on a Friday night because that's what us moms do. You know, keep it really crazy, unbrittle,
Yeah.
untamed. We're just going to get absolutely
Unhinged. And
wild.
this is,
Yeah.
this is going to be it.
And if you think True Crime Tuesdays are unhinged, just wait because now there's no specific theme, no boundary. We're just gonna get absolutely ratchet on
Yep.
here,
Yep.
micro peens and all. I can't.
When I saw the True Crime Tuesday come up on my podcast thing, and it was
World's
like
dumbest criminal.
world dumbest, the Black Panther. I was
That
like,
episode made me so mad because I was just
I'm
like, how?
as I just kept talking about it and reading it, I'm like, this guy's such a loser.
It just got like worse and worse. Like just seriously, how many desktops can you freaking manage in your criminal career?
How many times can you just screw it up? You got one
Seriously.
job that you're trying to do and you keep jacking it up.
Fall down a flight of stairs. That's where you got me. I was like, all right, so the dude shot a hole in the roof and then managed to fall down a flight of stairs. That's
Yes,
real Black Panther of you. That's
it
real
is.
sleek.
It's real Black Panther.
And I'm like, I was like, not that I've taken a trip to the rainforest or the jungle at any point, but like I'm pretty sure panthers don't just like fall out of trees.
They're not clumsy.
Yeah, like
They're not also spraying ammonia in their faces either. That was really good too. That was really good.
yeah. So I was like, he deserves the world's dumbest criminal title, at least on our podcast, where we have control of his nicknames.
Yeah,
I
that
think we
nickname
should have
was
like a
a fail.
competition one day and just have like me and Taylor should just make a list of all the things that he should be called
Yes.
instead of the Black Panther.
I think we did. I think we did a good job giving him some.
Yeah, we did a number on that guy. We we gave him some very particular names, micropene included. I think that's my new favorite term. Just gonna call everybody that I get salty with. Like you
Good.
micropene. So yeah, so today, to kick off,
Scared about this one.
yeah, this one,
Freaks
so
me
it's
out.
funny because what gave me the idea was I was like I said, we're gonna, two moms, we got two kids around the same age, the toddlerhood is nuts. And it kind of got the wheels going. We were like, you know what? We should do a creepy kids episode because I mean, you see it on TV.
No joke.
Yeah. And so we looked up probably about, if there's not any repeat stories, like probably about 100 stories collectively about creepy things kids have said. And then we'll just kind of talk a little bit about the supernatural and children because it seems to be, there's nothing creepier than in a horror movie than when you have a child that's either like possessed or says something really, I mean, I always think of The Omen. The Omen terrified me as a kid because like you have this like little child who looks just as sweet as a little cherub. He is just adorable and he's the antichrist.
Exactly. And children
And
are so
not
scary.
like the antichrist that we call our kids on a daily basis. I'm talking about like the real deal. Like he's actually the antichrist. He killed a nun. He straight up killed a nun. So like, we were like, yeah, let's torment our listeners and let's shoot them some really
Yes.
absolutely terrifying kid stories so that if you're listening and have kids, you are not going to sleep as much as me and Rachel are not going to sleep after reading these.
Yeah. Well, I have my own story of Peach coming in and giving me a heart attack. So
You mean the story that like scarred me for life?
yes, well, I just pulled that one out on you. I like to just
That
surprise each other with stories.
Yeah, I mean, oh Lord, we could write a whole book between our own personal experiences, our children experiences.
Yep.
There's a lot. It's a roster. But the first story that I'm going to start with is out of a list of the 50 of the creepiest things the kids have said. So you already know when the title is a special friend.
Yeah, no, I
It's
don't
going to
want
be
anyone's
scary.
special
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah. I think we've had enough experiences between our own children and then horror movies that any kind of imaginary friend is just it's not a good idea.
Not the vibe.
See, I was the lucky kid. My mom got lucky with me. I may have been bad in other ways, but she got lucky with me because I had an imaginary alligator. True story. So I didn't have a friend.
You had
So
the
like
alligator.
at least she could sleep at night and she's like, yeah, like it's not like some creepy Victorian kid that's trying to take my kid's soul. It's just my kid is very different and she has a pet alligator.
Yeah, I
So
don't think me or my siblings did anything like that. I'd have to ask, but I don't recall
that's your
anyone doing
homework.
anything
You have to
creepy.
ask your mom if you guys
Yeah.
ever had an imaginary friend. You had to have. I feel like every kid has something.
Yeah, I just had a brother and sister to boss around. Like I was, the oldest.
Unimaginary
So
friends, but
yeah,
friends.
yeah.
Um so yeah, so it's called a special friend. And this person wrote in and said, I was with my sister, her husband, and their 2-year-old daughter. We were talking about loved ones that had recently passed. My father had died sometime recently. My brother in law went and grabbed a picture of his mother, who had died in a car crash when he was 6, to show me. When my niece saw the picture, though she started Wait, hold on. This person did not write this well. It says, when my niece saw the picture, though, she started laughing. We asked her what was so funny, and she looked at us and said, that's my special friend who sings to me. And I still shiver a bit just thinking about it. Yeah.
Yikes.
I think the singing part gets me. I mean, it's comforting to know that, like, it's not like,
It's not somebody spooky.
yeah, like she wasn't like, it's a demon, but
Yeah.
like,
The guy scratching out your eyes.
I don't know I just seriously don't know how you slept or like even still live in that
I
home. I
know.
would run.
I know.
Um, but yeah, so I think I always have the question of like when people because Maisie's done that. Like it's very random and very few and far between, which kind of like startles me, but like she'll just be like, I miss grandma and grandpa. And I'm like, and she doesn't call like she calls my mom Grammy and
Mm.
then she calls like Matt's parents mama and papa. So like she doesn't call anybody like the people that are known as grandma and grandpa are like my grandma and grandpa. Um and so she like will just randomly say things or she'll be like, what did she say the other day?
And did she know them?
No.
No.
Nope. Well, my grandfather got to meet her, but she was like she wouldn't remember him
Yeah.
if she's so little. He died a year ago. So like she's about to be 3. So yeah, like I mean like kind of, but not really. But like not enough to like know like that's grandpa and
Yeah.
never met my grandma. So yeah. So it's weird. I think the supernatural and kids are just
Yes.
they're
I think
very
that,
interesting.
yes, I definitely think kids can, especially like younger kids. I like some of these stories you hear about, like when they talk about like being like, oh, I was a grown up and I did this and
Like the
they,
reincarnation.
yes, like they already lived a life. Like some I heard one time and the girl was talking about, when I was in my boat accident, like I don't want to go on a boat ever again. And she's like, the mom's like, what the heck? And she's talking about this, she was on a ship and there was a boat wreck and like all this stuff. And she's like, were you on the Titanic? What is this?
But seriously, I mean, and it's funny because we just talked when we did our me and Taylor did the doppelgangers and mimics episode. I brought up the little boy. I tried to find the article. There was a little boy who claimed that he was Jimi Hendrix.
Hmm.
And he would have these like moments of like he could just shred it on a guitar. And he was only like 4 or 5. Like
Wow.
no way that he could play like that. And he talked about like specific memories, but the craziest thing was, if I remember correctly, he had like, and I wish I could remember what it was. I want to say it was a birthmark. Like he had a like something that Jimi Hendrix had that was like identifying. Like they were like it was specific. Like almost like those people that have like, no offense, but like they like bird shit birthmarks. Like they kind of look like they just,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Like a
So
skull.
like it's like one of those. Like it's very distinct. It's not something that, it's not like just a little beauty mark, or like it was like a distinct like body mark, and he had almost something identical, and they just thought it was so strange. And I was like, kids, like there's no way they can make that up. Like no
I
way.
hope if I get reincarnated, I'm something good. Like, I just want to
Yeah,
be something good. I was talking about like, I would love to be like a police canine or like a dog or like, I'm like, I just want to
it's
be something
true.
good if I do have to be reincarnated into something.
I guess that's why we have to like be good on earth
Yeah.
now,
A
because like
man.
I feel
Like,
like if I keep being a shitbag, I'm gonna come back as like a plunger.
yeah. I'm
I'm
just
like,
be
I try and
drinking
be a good
all the time.
person every day, but sometimes people push my limits. And then I'm like, Morgan, you don't want to come back as a toilet plunger. So like
Exactly.
we gotta work on
Exactly.
this, bro.
Yeah.
So the next one is really short, but the title is called Behind You. Never a good start.
No, I don't.
It's I always this has actually happened to me while babysitting. Um, and I told this story on a podcast with Taylor, but the little boy was talking about his imaginary friend. And I was like, oh, where is she? And I didn't like believe it at that point. And he's like, oh, she's right behind you. And he's like, she doesn't like you. And I was like,
Tell her I don't like her either.
I'm like, well, sis. I'm like, I think I'm gonna go home now.
Yeah.
Would your parents be cool if I just let you babysit yourself?
Yeah. Can she watch you? Because I'm
Yeah.
not.
She seems competent enough, eloquently spoken, and
Oh my
knows how
God.
to express her emotions, so she must be older. She can handle this.
Yikes.
But this parent had said, I guess the child had been waking up claiming that there was something under his bed. And then mom said, go back to sleep. There isn't anything under your bed. And he said, he is behind you now. And they said, still haven't gotten over that one, and shiver at the memory. Nothing's worse than like, especially if this happened in like early hour mornings, like 2,
And
3
when they're just
a.m.
so like convinced and they're so like they're like, no, it's there. And
And
it's
you
like,
like as a parent, you're like, I know better. I know better. But then they're so convincing, and you're
yes, yes.
like, you know what? I think I'm just, don't drag me into your nonsense.
No,
If you
that's
got
the
beef with
thing.
this monster, that's between you and him. Don't be
Yeah.
don't be bringing that shit to my room.
Mm-mm.
Like you gotta, sorry, dude, you gotta figure that out on your own. If it's gonna eat you, that has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, don't bring me into this.
No. So yeah, so it's terrible. Just like peace out, dude.
Amazing.
Um, so hold on, I'm trying to get the next one. Um, so this kind of goes with your reincarnation. So not necessarily scary, but it's titled I Used to Do That. And said, when my son was small, I was talking to him about growing potatoes. And I described how you bank up the earth around them and they grow. And he said, I used to do that when I was an old man. So cuter, lighter. I'm holding some
Yeah.
of the more scary stuff for,
Yeah. So I have an
um
imaginary friend one here.
oh, read
This
it.
one's called a broken arm. So it says, my sister described her imaginary friend saying he sits on my bed and waits for his mom. He's not allowed to go home by himself because of his arm. I asked what happened to his arm, and she said his mom ran him over when he was drawing with chalk. That's why he's always crying because he doesn't like being dead.
Oh, what? I would be like,
That's a very convincing story.
I'd be like, tell your friend he cannot eat over and he needs
Yeah,
to leave immediately.
your friend's got to go home.
He's got to go home.
He's feeling some
Damn.
type of way though. He said my mom ran me over and I don't like being dead.
I wonder if like I
That's
don't know.
horrible.
Like, I
I'm
feel like if my
laughing.
child ever said something like that, the first thing I would do, and this is just like the freak in me, is like I would be like, I'm pulling up some like historical like archives, and I want to see if there was a lady that was like convicted of running her son over.
Yeah.
Um, this one is like my worst fear. It's called The Bad Man. Yeah, another title. These titles, like, I'm like, oh. So it's kind of like written like a conversation. It says, why are you crying? Child says, bad man. Says, what bad man? And he says, there, and points behind me at a dark corner of the room. The lamp on the bookshelf next to said darkened corner falls off as soon as I turn to look. Oh, it was a she. She slept in our bed that night. That, see, now, like, if there's action to follow the words,
I'm out of here.
yeah. Because like if you're telling me that there's a bad man and then all of a sudden like where you're pointing there's some sort of motion, whether it's a shadow, a lamp, the bookshelf rattles, the wind blows, I don't care. If something moves, the house is on the market.
Yeah. So this one's good. This is a good follow up to that one. So this
Oh
one's called The
gosh.
Talking Painting. So it says, my family recently moved into a new home in a new country. It was a well furnished apartment. In our bedroom was a painting that looked like hair free flowing in the wind. It wasn't a pleasant or soothing painting, but I was trying to make peace with it. My son was 2.5 years old then. One day, I was settling him down for an afternoon nap in my bedroom. When he said, I don't want to sleep in this room, I asked him why. And he said, this painting looks at me and tries to talk to me. I don't like it. Oh,
What?
God.
But I just feel like there's really nothing that a child could like say that doesn't come across as creepy. Like sometimes even when they say nice stuff, their little
You're like,
voices, the tone in
what?
their voice, they're like, I like your eyes. And you're like,
Yeah,
I appreciate that, but please
yeah,
don't ever say that again.
no.
Um, there's a lot of like what I think is interesting is a lot of these stories, there was a lot of like predictions,
Yeah.
like crazy things about like kids like predicting babies, predicting or like talking about like telling their parents like, oh, so and so was in a car accident.
Like, are you
And
predicting
like,
my next one? Because that was my next story about a death prophecy.
was it? I'm telling you, we're hanging out too much because like I'm reading your brain now. All right, read yours.
Okay, so this one says, my mom told me when I was a kid around the age of 4, I would go to my great grandmother every day to spend time with her. And every time I was going home, I would say, as a good religious child I was, God be with you. But one time when I was leaving, I told her, go with God. According to my mom, my mom, corrected me, but I insisted on saying, go with God. That night, my great grandmother died.
See? See? I'm telling you. Like I just wish I watched this really interesting video. I don't know if you saw it. It was oh crap, what's his name? I can see his face and I can't think of what his name is, but he just like he was doing like I guess scientific studies and was talking about like psychic mediums and
Mhm.
he like literally was saying they did a brain scan and found physical evidence that like psychic mediums when they scanned I think it was Jack Osborne's podcast. He like they scanned what the oh my gosh, I'm blanking. She's on the Dead Files. She's the new psychic. Cindy it's Cindy something, but they scanned her brain, I think it was, and he basically said something to the extent of like, he's like, it's legit. Like, he's like, it's like something I've never seen before. He's like, it's the craziest thing. He's like, it's almost like they are dead asleep. Like their brain is reading as if they're dead asleep. They're in such a trance-like state and they're able to like get these messages and stuff, when they're wide awake, like talking or whatever, but their brain is reading as if it's like in a deep sleep. And you have to like watch it. If I find it, I'll send it to you. But it was really interesting because I was like, a lot of people, I love when science and like supernatural comes together. And I'm like, they should like do like brain scans on children who like say stuff like this.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to know, like,
What you got
what
going
is their
on up in
brain?
there? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so this one freaked me out. It's called The Dead Baby. Did
Like,
you read that one?
I saw that one.
So it says, my daughter was 3 and I was getting her ready for the day. She had been waking up with nightmares almost every night for a month or two, and I asked what she wanted for breakfast, and she told me she wanted to share it with the dead baby in her closet. I thought she meant one of her dolls, but when I pulled them out, she said, no, not a doll, the dead one that sleeps on the floor, sleeps on the closet floor at night. Throw the whole kid away.
Yeah. No.
Instant jail, straight to jail. I don't want to hear that nonsense.
No.
Don't be telling me that.
This
Uh,
one, this one is me. This is totally me. On a flight with my son, the plane took off and hit a couple bumps. The pass the passengers were being somewhat quiet, and then my son yells, "We're all gonna die!"
gosh.
Oh, it's just funny. I was like,
That is a good one.
that's
That is
me.
a good one.
I hate flying.
I don't like turbulence.
Me.
This is another creepy one. So, to follow that one, the lady in the bedroom says my 3-year-old son was softly singing while he was coloring, and I stopped to listen, but I'd never heard the song before. I asked where he learned it, and he said, the lady in my bedroom sang it to me. Now, if we had some sort of audio clip so we could hear what that sounded like, it would just make it that much worse. I'd
Yes.
probably throw up.
Yes.
Songs are, yeah, I don't know. Songs just add a lot.
Here's one. The storm is coming. My niece drew a picture of a man in her room that she kept telling her parents about. He had 2 different color eyes and one was gray. When she asked why it was gray, she responded, because he can see the storm coming.
What?
No. No.
Oh my gosh, that would freak me out. Yeah, some of these leave me speechless because I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to follow up that. Like, oh my gosh. So, this one freaks me out because it's a personal fear. Because everybody that knows me knows that I have things with eyes. Like I don't like when they're missing. I don't like when they're a different color. Like just don't do anything with the eyes. So this one was called the Red-Eyed Man. And yeah, so it says we were on our way home to Alabama from Texas, and my son was in the back seat, and he said, "Mommy, who's the man in the back seat with me?" It was just us two. No
No.
one else with us that I could see. I asked him to describe him, and he said, he's just black with red eyes, and he's scaring me. So I pulled over and put his seat in the front with me, and he said the man looked like he wanted to eat me when I moved him. So there's that. That last line is what got me with that story. I was like, that's a long
Thanks.
drive,
No,
dude,
thanks.
and especially if it's at night and you're telling me this thing, whatever it is, looked like it wanted to eat me from moving you, I would be like, no, nope.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So I can't. With some of the things that these kids say, it scares me.
Here we go. My 5-year-old, Mom, I need you to throw away 2 of my Barbies. Me. Why? Her, because they looked back at me.
The toys ones gets me.
Yeah, dolls and toys and stuff like that. Mm-mm.
Because how many times do you see these haunted collectors people? It's always toys. If you see that, like even Lorraine Warren's museum,
Yep.
Annabelle,
Yep.
Robert the doll.
Yep.
Well,
Heck
Robert
no.
the doll's not there, but I'm just thinking of toys. But then she has, um, well, actually, I don't know if this is an actual artifact, but remember in The Conjuring, they had that weird toy that would like with the spinny thing. It was like that little
Wasn't
like
there a
trinket
fire truck
box.
too?
Yeah.
Thought.
it's always freaking toys. Um, so this one is not so much ghosty, but just like as a parent, I would be like, you know, those moments where your kid says something and you're ah, like, are you a psychopath? Like sometimes you just stop and you're like,
Gotta wonder.
is this like a normal toddler behavior where you're just being weird, or like should I bring you to a psychiatrist so you don't become the next Jeffrey Dahmer? So this was one of those stories. So it was called Sure Thing. So my daughter and I were reading on the couch one Sunday morning. It was raining outside. We were wrapped up in a warm blanket and she had a cup of tea. I had that perfect Americano. Life was good. My daughter looked up at me and said, Dad, when you die, can I cut you open and look inside? I choked a bit on my coffee, and my wife simply turned around and did an about face. I don't really know what that means, and walked back upstairs. Sure, I said, and she looked up at me, smiling.
Oh my God, that goes with this one. Here we go. All right. Okay. My 5-year-old out of the clear blue sky tells me while we're snuggling in bed, Mom, when you die after the funeral, I'm going to take you back home with me. I will chop off your head and shake out your guts. Then I will put it on my table by my bed so I can look at your face before I go to sleep and always remember that I really love you. A little serial killer-ish, but shows how deeply he loves his mom.
I'm telling you, red flags. There's so
No,
many red
no,
flags in some of the things
no.
that they say, and you're just like,
You gotta get that one under control, or we'll be
like I
talking
don't,
about him.
I don't know whether to take this seriously or I feel like there's some things that they say, and I'm like, I feel like I should lock my bedroom door at night. Like, I don't trust you sleeping down the hall from me. But this is another one that kind of goes that theme. It's called The Mighty Pen. Short, sweet, and to the point. So it says, my daughter's friend's dad, Ian, came in for a cup of tea one day when he came to pick his daughter up. My girl, Izzy, was playing with a toy sword. Ian said to her, you know, Izzy, the pen is mightier than the sword. Izzy said, yeah, I know, because you can stab someone in the neck with a pen. Well, not
Uh,
exactly what I think we meant by that, but I mean, is she wrong?
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Self-defense there.
Yellow flag. It's a yellow flag.
That's in the middle.
Yeah. A little creepy, but not totally serial killer-ish.
Let's see. When our dog died, without us yet having properly attempted to explain death to our then 2-year-old, our 2-year-old said all of her thoughts left her body.
Okay. All
Right.
right. Fair enough.
All of her thoughts left her body.
This is another could be, I mean, it could go two ways. So could be like joking, haha, you know, the kid's just sarcastic, has a sense of humor, dark, morbid, or next Jeffrey Dahmer. So this one's called The Darkest Things Kids Said. It says I regularly babysit two girls, which actually, hold on, let me pause really quick. I just want to say this. If any of our listeners were former babysitters and have had weird, creepy experiences, which I know you have, because as a babysitter, I could write a book. I was a nanny for years and years, and the creepy stuff that kids did. Yeah. So back to the story. I regularly babysit two girls, 3 and 5 years old, both blonde with huge blue eyes and big smiles. They are the creepiest people I have ever met. I feel
Of course
that.
they are.
Once after I picked them up from daycare, I tried to get them excited for dinner. Seeing as they don't normally eat that much when I'm there, I asked them in an overly excited voice, hey guys, what do you want for dinner? The eldest looked at me, runs away, and hides behind a corner. Sticking her head out, she whispers, I want skinned babysitter.
Oh my God.
That's nice. That's nice.
Like, oh, that's not it.
Oh, well, I guess I'm just going to have to tear my left arm off and
Yep.
throw it in the air fryer.
Eat it.
Yeah.
Here you go. This one's for you too. When my nephew was 5, he offered me a cookie. When I reached out to accept it, he pulled it away from me and told me he wasn't offering it to me. It was to the person standing behind me. There was no one else there.
What? I cannot. Um,
My triplets once told me we used to hear a man talking to us in our old house, but we could never find him. Like I have to laugh because this is
that's terrifying. Well, another one of darkest things kids said. It said, my friend's 7-year-old kid pretended to put me in jail. Our conversation went something like this. Me, what do I do? Forget to brush my teeth? Didn't do my homework? Her, you murdered a 23-year-old woman while she was jogging in the early morning. Me, dot, 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 dot. That would literally be I would not be
I'd
expecting that.
throw
Like,
up.
oh, what did I do? Forgot to brush my teeth? And she's like, you murdered somebody. A 20, very specific. She said a 23-year-old woman while jogging in the early morning hours. Like, what? I'd be like, I would have a Kevin Hart moment. I'd be like, hold up. You
Yeah.
are not going to just skirt past that. Like, you
Yep.
didn't just say what you said.
Here's a sweet one that could be my little cousin told me once that he wished he could cut my hands off so he could hold my hand when even when I wasn't there.
What? Oh, that's so scary. What? Um, so I am going to I'm gonna jump to the one from the 32 creepiest. That one had some good ones. Um so this one is a sleep paralysis one. This one freaked me out. It says, I get sleep paralysis sometimes. And once, when my daughter was about 3, I fell asleep on the floor of her bedroom. I had a sleep paralysis dream involving a shadow person on the ceiling. Not fun, but it's been happening to me for years. So I'm sort of used to it. Eventually, I woke up properly and I saw my daughter wide awake staring up at the ceiling. She looked down at me on the floor and asked, did you see the ghost too? Bruh.
You're like, no, I didn't.
Like, I wish that I would have just fucking died in that sleep paralysis dream, because if I came out of that and my child was like, hey,
See that
you
thing?
saw that thing on the ceiling, I would be like, nope, I didn't see shit. I saw nothing.
Here we go. I woke up to find my 3-year-old son laying in bed next to me. I asked how he got in my bed, and he said he came to protect me from the light eyes that were standing over me when I was sleeping.
What? No.
I
Nope.
would just never sleep ever again.
No, it's like, how do you though?
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, there's just like some of the things are just so specific. Um, so hold on. So it says, my mom told me that once when I was around 4, she got a painting at a thrift shop. It was a vase of flowers. She was weirdly intrigued by it. When she took it home, I stared at it and she asked what was wrong. I told her that I was thinking about how to comfort the boy that was crying in the painting, since he couldn't hear me or us. Mom was confused. There was no boy in the painting, it was just a vase. It turns out the painting was made for a little boy. The frame had "For Willie, Resting Peacefully, 1976 to 1982" written inside of it. We looked at the painting and realized that the vase holding the flowers was shaped like a typical urn. We put the pieces together and guessed that the boy I talked about those years ago was probably the person inside the urn. That, or the painting was done with paint mixed with the boy's ashes. Either way, it was creepy. The painting is still in her home to this day, which that used to be a thing, like
Don't
mixing
make it.
ashes with paint. So, like, I would not be surprised. I get weird with Goodwill stuff, because I don't know if you ever heard the story about how I almost took somebody's ashes home. I saw a really cute vase
Of
thing. It
course
looked
you
like
did. Of
of course,
course.
I'm telling you, can't make this
You have
shit up. It's
lived
my
a
life.
thousand lives.
I seriously have. Like, people must think that like I'm a storyteller, but like I have the picture. I saw this like cool shaped, like I like odd shaped things. I was like, that'll be a cool like mantelpiece. but when I picked it up, I was like, that's really freaking heavy. Like this looks plasticky. I'm like, that shouldn't be like that heavy. And so then I saw the top kind of like had like a circle cut out. I'm like, oh, I was like, I thought I was gonna be lucky. Like, you know, those people that find thrift store finds and it's got like
Yeah. Like
money in it.
money.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna find like $100 in quarters or something. So like I opened the top,
I would have screamed.
bro. It was ashes. It was definitely ashes. And I was like, who who the
Who
fuck
donated their
like
grandma to
donate? That's what I'm
Goodwill?
saying. Like who just like I just want you to know, whoever you are, I say this respect. No, you know what? I say this disrespectfully. If you are somebody that just turns your relatives' ashes over to the Goodwill,
I guess it depends on who it is.
two
You're like,
dollars,
just donate these.
$2.
My Nana has these vases on top of her thing in her living room, and my brother and sister always were like, "What is that? What's in those? What's in those?" And they were just these vases from, you know, where I think when they were stationed in Okinawa, maybe it was these beautiful like vases. So every time they're like, "What's in those? What's in those?" And so my dad always joked, it was like, "It's your great grandparents' ashes." And so there's nothing in there. So what they did one time was got ashes out of the um like the pellet stove, and my dad put them in there. And so he was like, the one time they were like, "What's in there? What's in those?" So he takes it down and he dumps them in his hand. So he's got this pile of ashes in it. And he was like, "Oh, it tastes like grandpa." And they just died because they thought it was like real ashes, but it was not.
Oh my
They
gosh.
were
I
like
actually like
they were
respect your
like
dad
younger,
immensely
and
for
they're
that.
just screaming through the house with my dad holding these like pile of fake ashes in his hand.
Dude, people like that's wild.
I'm like, I can.
That's great though.
Yeah.
That's so great. I love his sense of humor.
Jesus. This one is crazy. I'm a nanny for a toddler who's learning to talk. As we walk through our local cemetery, which is normal in our neighborhood, she pointed to the area above the graves saying, "People, look, people," over and over again.
Oh, oh my gosh. I'm telling you, it just gets like worse and worse. So, this one says it wasn't so much what she said as it was what she did. When my daughter was about 4 years old, I heard her talking in her sleep. I got up to check on her and to wake her and ask if she had to use the restroom. She shook her head yes, so I took her into the bathroom. I knew she was still asleep, even though she was going through the motions because her eyes were glazed over and had a blank look. She sat down to use the restroom and slowly started rocking forward and backward. Weird? Yeah, but whatever. Then she slowly started creepily laughing. I asked her if everything was okay, and she continued to rock and laugh. I tried a few more times to get her to talk to me, and she continued to laugh and rock. Finally, I asked her what's so funny. The rocking came to an abrupt stop. She slowly raised her head and eyes to look at me while her eyes were still glazed over and said, "You are." Then she went back to rocking and laughing. I was done at that point, so I asked her if she was done and took her right back to bed. Took me a little while to fall back asleep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no,
In the
no.
middle of the night, my little sister turned to me and said, "Do you hear them talking?" But it was dead silent. It's just
That's
those
like,
little creepy one sentence things that just like kill it.
you ever read those they're like the one
One
sentence
sentence
horror
yeah.
stories? Yeah, those get me. Some people are
Ah,
so clever. Um, I'm trying to find the next one. Just bear with me. Where'd it go? Um, oh. So, moving to the where the beanie, I'm trying to find that Beanie Baby one because that one freaked me out. I read it. Um, I'm like, I definitely thought it was in one of these, and I'm like, watch, probably was in a different one. Um, do you have another one? I'm gonna let you pick
yeah,
another one
yeah.
if I
So
can
this
find
one
this.
says, "I used to work at a daycare that was adjacent to a large cemetery. Sometimes the kids would gather at the fence and stare into the cemetery, talking about a little boy who wanted to play with them. As it turns out, the part of the cemetery that bordered the fence was the same part where all the kids and babies were buried. It really freaked out some of the girls that worked there.
That's how, ugh.
I'm telling you, kids 50,000% see ghosts. Like if anyone can see them, it's them. Like
And like even if it's not even a ghosty one, like where do they come up with some of
yeah,
this like just morbid?
exactly. They're all like, "Oh, it's the little boy, and we want to play with him," and it's just like, what?
Yeah. Um, okay, well, I'll read this one. So it says, in our old house, my daughter would refuse to sleep in her room. She would come downstairs and say things were moving, but the scariest one was when she came downstairs in tears and said, something was tickling my back, but I can't see it. I never made her sleep alone again. We put her bed in my son's room after that and since moved from the house where all of us had experiences much worse than what she had. So that means something, it wasn't a bug or something, like something was tickling
Yeah.
her back. I don't
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
I don't like that. That scares me. Um,
Oh, this one. Oh my God, this one just creeped me out.
oh
My
gosh.
son told me about a dead woman with blue skin, no hair, and black eyes who supposedly lived in our apartment. He said he watched her follow us outside, tried to get in our car, but there was no room. So she stood outside, watched us leave while waving goodbye.
Oh my, the
Like a
no eyes. The no eyes
no,
is what
black
gets
eyes,
me.
not no eyes, black eyes.
It's just as bad as no eyes.
No
Black
hair,
eyes.
blue skin.
Oh, the vision in my head right now is just so
Oh,
like,
God. And the comment on that one says, thanks for the lack of no room in the car.
that is just like, oh, I can't. I can't. There's so there was a like a Reddit forum and oh wait, I think I found the Beanie Baby one. Yeah, so I found it. So it was actually on Reddit. So this one person asked like basically like if you guys have ever had like creepy experiences like with your children, like post it here. And you know damn well that was like 656 comments deep
Yeah.
because as we've already proven, we already, have touched upon God knows how many stories. So this one said, my mother died a few weeks ago. I went to her house to get some things, and she had a huge collection of stuffed animals that I brought home for the kids. My son, 5, and I were awake early about 3 days after her death, and he was playing with the stuffed animals in his room when he came out screaming and crying hysterically. This never happens. He's a very tough boy for 5. Now I was freaked and asked him what was wrong, and he was legit terrified. I had never seen him like this before or after. He said that one of the stuffed animals moved. He said he was playing with the other ones, and the little beanie stuffed dog moved, turned its head, and looked at him. He said he threw a doll at it, and its face got mean. He refused to go back in that room or leave my side until I put the stuffed dog in the trash, not in the inside trash or the outside trash near the house, but the dumpster down the street. Smart kid. I just want to say that smart kid because I would drive 3 hours away to bury it,
Like
like
mail it somewhere.
send it to somewhere that has like a molten lava volcano and just
Yeah.
kick it in. It says, I don't believe in ghosts or anything, but carrying that thing out to the trash, I got goosebumps and felt super freaked out. Can you imagine as a kid playing with a beanie baby and you throw something at it and
Nothing
like
good.
I'm picturing it going like
Yeah.
eyebrow, those like evil toy faces.
Yes.
And like it just freaks me out because then somebody commented and said, actually saw a news story about something like this. It was a room full of plushies, and the kid kept crying that one of them was attacking him or something. Turns out months later, this is okay. Hold on, I gotta compose myself because this is fucked up and I shouldn't be laughing. Turns out months later, they discovered that there was a fucking live raccoon hiding among the plushies and it was shitting in the closet. So this kid was getting attacked.
God.
How many plushies do you have that you don't notice a raccoon attacking your child?
You know I love a raccoon.
And like you didn't notice it was shitting in the closet?
Oh my God.
I notice if there's like a moth on my wall. Like,
Yeah.
I would definitely notice if there was. And then somebody goes, it was not, it wasn't a raccoon, it was a possum.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I can't. So that was creepy, gone funny, because I didn't see the comments before.
This one, when my youngest was about 5 years old, I asked him why he stole all his sister's dolls and hid them. He told me that the little old lady told him to do it. I said, "What little old lady?" His response, "The one that talks to me all the time." There, there was no old lady ever in our home. It freaked me out.
No. Oh my gosh. People need to like, parents need to write like supernatural books. I would read them. So this one person said, my mom loves telling me this story about the time I discovered hypnotism. When I was 4, I found out about hypnotism. I don't remember how, but apparently I became fascinated by the idea of having mind control abilities. One day, my mom says my grandpa loaded me into the car for one of our normal grocery store outings, only for him to return an hour later, furious. After he calmed down, he told my mom that I refused to stop staring him down in the rearview mirror with a very serious look on my face. He had to ask me to stop on several occasions, but said I never really replied. I just kept staring menacingly. Then he said, all of a sudden, I looked into his eyes and said, Papa, I'm going to hypnotize you. I'm going to put my toe in your mouth. I
All
thought that was
right.
a little humor to kind of break it up because
Yeah.
I'm like, kids, we try and blow shit up with our minds when we're like 4.
When I was 4 or 5, I would regularly say things like grandma's calling before the phone would ring. The phone would ring moments later and it would be my grandma, stuff like that. But one that really threw my mom for a loop was when I woke up one morning asking if my cousin would lose her arm. My mom didn't think much of it until my aunt called later that morning saying that my cousin fell off her bike and broke her arm. My mom just stared at me.
What?
That's just some like premonition stuff there.
Seriously, like these kids just like
I'm
they
like, please
just
don't
I
tell me
don't
that
know.
I'm gonna die or something crazy.
That's what gets me. Like when kids say like, "Oh, you're gonna die," and you're just like you spend the rest of your life fearing for that day to happen. You're like, "What's gonna happen?" Um, so this one is going to be kind of like a two-parter. It says my ex-father-in-law died a couple years before my daughter was born, so she never met him. He was known as a pretty funny guy, always quick with a one-liner. As strange as it sounds, there were no pictures of him around until my daughter was about 4 years old, and my ex-mother-in-law set one next to the urn where his ashes were kept. The first time my daughter saw the picture, she pointed to it and said, "That's Grandpa. I like when he looks in my window and makes me laugh. I don't like his friends, though." She had never mentioned this, and when I tried to ask her about it, she seemed nonchalant. She's older now and says she doesn't remember it. I'll never forget it. And then somebody replied and said, this happened to me when I was a child. My grandfather died when I was 8 months old. They tell me he never liked holding babies, but he held me and he asked that I be told I was the only baby he ever held. I got a little older, about 4 years old, and I had never seen a picture of him, so you could say I didn't even know him. One day, somebody in the family decided to have pictures of him printed out, and my mom was given one to hang up on the wall. They say that when they hung the picture up, I looked at it and said, hey, that's the man that comes and plays with me sometimes. We had land, so we had fruit, vegetables planted, and we even had animals. Near the pigsty, we had cacti, and I would go back there to play a lot, and that's where I said I would see him when he would come and play with me. I wish I could remember him because after the day I told my family, they said I never saw him again. So
Wow.
two instances of,
Here's
yeah.
another babysitting one because there's just a theme here of kids that you babysit. Um, my friend was babysitting 2 girls, 3 and 5 years old. The older one drew a painting of her family in front of in front of her in her kindergarten. Her family in front of her. I don't know what that person meant. So their family, a brown curly haired girl, which happened to be what my friend looked like, kind of above the other people. So my friend asked her, hey, is that me? Did you draw me? The 5-year-old said, yes, you're in the sky in heaven. That's where you end up when you're dead.
Okay. Flat out, just giving it right to him, full transparent send.
Yes, yes.
Um, so this one is not really supernatural, but it's probably why if your kids tell you a supernatural story, you probably should just believe them and just you should check the monster under the bed. So it said it was a Saturday morning a few years ago, and my wife and I were still in bed, and she was trying to convince me to make pancakes for breakfast. My oldest son, about 6 at the time, came into the room and agreed with her. He then said, you should make some for Tyler too. Now, he had never had imaginary friends, and we don't have anybody in the house or family named Tyler. So I was curious and asked him who Tyler was. Tyler is the man sleeping in my bed. Anyway, turns out that a local teenager had gotten pissed drunk the night before, jumped into the local swimming pool, gotten separated from his friends, wandered into my house, and thinking it was his friend's very suburban, all houses very similar, passed out on my son's bed in his wet chlorinated clothes. My son thought this was fine and just went downstairs to watch TV in the living room until he fell asleep on the couch, which was apparently the height of awesome for a 5-year-old. We called the cops. He was incredibly embarrassed, apologetic, and still quite drunk,
Oh
and they came
my
and took him
God.
home. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Imagine this poor kid, he's 5, and he's just like this big wet man just comes and
Yeah, there's
jumps
like a
in his
neighbor
bed to
there.
pass out. Yeah. He's like, oh, yeah,
Like,
he's like, you should make some breakfast for Tyler, too.
I can't
No,
even.
no big deal.
My gosh, my children were born in 2001 and 2003. And they used to tell me stories all the time how they played and rode bikes with their Aunt Mindy, my sister who died in 1996. They give me vivid details of their time together.
Mm, that's spooky.
Mhm.
This one freaks me out a little bit. So it says, not my kid, but a little girl in my son's kindergarten class told me that she lives across the street from a cemetery. I asked her if it was spooky to live that close to a graveyard, and she said very matter of factly, not during the day, but at night, they all walk up to our windows and scream. Nope.
No, no,
Nope.
no.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Dude. And then somebody replied to, do you have another one?
That one just
Oh, the graveyard.
yes.
Yeah,
They come
it's
to my
well,
window and
this
scream.
my favorite part is when somebody tells a story. What I love about Reddit is that other people have stories. So somebody, a stranger says hi is the name. It says, I grew up across the street from a cemetery, and my little sister told us when she was in kindergarten or first grade that she couldn't bathe by herself because the ghost comes and makes the water icy cold when no one else was around. Let me tell you something. The time when I feel the most vulnerable in my entire life is when I'm going to the bathroom and when I'm in the shower. Okay.
Oh God.
I have my head on a swivel. I don't like having my eyes closed for too long. I've seen Psycho.
That's
There's,
only when the dogs start barking too. And I'm like, you're
oh,
kidding. You're kidding.
I'm like, this is how I go out. Titties swanging, naked butt. All I know is that, like, somewhere in the struggle, whether it's a ghost or an intruder, I will find time to get leggings on because I refuse to die naked. I will not be killed naked. I will not be found dead naked. I know too many people in this small ass state. At that point, just throw me in a meat grinder. I never want to be heard or seen from again. Like, if y'all find my naked body,
Won't know it
just,
then.
yeah, throw me to a shark. I want to be like permanently eaten, gone forever. Never, don't even throw me awake, a funeral, nothing.
Oh, here's another plain one. I would die. The kid sitting behind me just said, I can't wait for this plane to crash. Bye forever.
Oh my gosh. What? Oh, planes
I
are
was
just
babysitting.
freaky.
Yeah, I no. I don't want to talk about any plane stuff because I am no. I was babysitting and didn't know how to turn the TV off, so it was just static. My 4-year-old cousin stared into the static and said, I see the monster.
Oh my gosh. My stomach is making some atrocious sounds. Just scared me. Um, Let me see. I'm trying to get the next one. So it says, hold on. That's the wrong one. It's funny because I had these like picked out and like I feel like they've gotten longer. I'm like, did people get on Reddit and like comment on these in the last like hour? Um, so it says, I was talking to my son when he grabbed my face. He got really close and he whispered, Mommy, you're talking too loud. You'll wake up Abiyoyo. I'm scared to say that. I feel like my table's gonna start levitating.
God.
Me whispering, who's Abiyoyo, buddy? Son whispering, Abiyoyo is my friend. Me, where is Abiyoyo? And the son says, in the mountain, he's sleeping.
You've
We
said it
live,
like 3 times. It's
yeah,
like
it's like I'm gonna trip up on this. So in the mountain, he's sleeping. We live near a large mountain range. And she says, why do we have to be so quiet? And the son says, he eats kids when they're too loud. Sometimes when we were too loud, he would tell all of us to be quiet, then run to the window to see if Abiyoyo was coming. For a while, I was afraid of looking up Abiyoyo online for fear that it'll be some ancient D word or something. But my son kept bringing him up, so I finally got over myself and found out that Abiyoyo is a South African folk tale about a giant who lives in the mountain who comes down to eat the village livestock. Afraid that he will eat the villagers next, they find a way to stop him. They read the book to him at school. Thank God. Can
my
you
gosh.
imagine not knowing that that was like a tale? I would be in the same boat as the mom, though. I wouldn't want to look that up.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes it's better to just not know. Curiosity killed the cat. There's a reason for that saying.
Please don't die next time you take a bath, 5-year-old. I hadn't planned on it. I was hoping he didn't know something I wasn't aware of. Oh my God.
My gosh. Um, So this is when I was a child, I had recurring nightmares of a bus crash. I was on the back row of a bus when it tipped onto its right side. I remember a weird mechanism I think was a door handle, but have no idea why it would be on the back row of a bus. And then there was a woman holding me crying. My mom was horrified when I told her this. What are you
Just
laughing at? Is it laugh or is that a cry?
both.
Oh gosh.
Almost every day for a week. Every day for almost a week now, my 4-year-old would tell me that when he was 3, well, here's how our conversation went every day for that week. My son, you're going to die. Me, oh, really? My son, yep. Me, well, well, eventually everyone dies. My son, well, you're going to die in a fire. He made it sound like it was going to happen soon, but I'm still here over a year later and no fire.
What? Oh my gosh. And to think that like our little ones are so young, like they still have all these years to creep us out and say some of these things. And I'm like, well, hopefully this will somewhat like prepare us for the horrors that are to come.
There better not
Um,
be any fuckers.
this one kind of made me laugh a little bit just because it was just like it was just like sinister, but it was funny. It said, playing on the floor with my son, he's 2. Pillows on the floor, we're pretending to go night night and sleep. He takes the pillow away from me, stands above my head, looks down and says, bye bye, and places the pillow over my face. All right. Well, I'd be like, all right, playtime's over. You need to go sit in timeout indefinitely while I process the fact that you just tried to smother me like a grown adult.
Yeah.
Um, so this one was kind of creepy. It said, while babysitting, the kid would tell me to turn the rocking chair around because she didn't want the person staring at her when she was sleeping. I would do it, and the next day the rocking chair would be facing forward again.
No, no. Mm-mm.
Rocking chairs freak me out.
No. They,
Like,
oh God.
yeah. So, and then somebody again with the comments are always the best. So somebody, Pris Batty said, we looked around an empty old house with a thought, um, to buying it when my daughter was 3. When my mom asked afterwards if she liked the house, she said it was very nice, but she didn't like the old lady in the corner. I'd be like, well, I like that you like the house, but we're gonna go look at some more and never come back.
God. Here we go. Here's like creepy Halloween story. When my nephew was about 5, I remember taking him around the neighborhood for trick-or-treating. We stopped at a house with a few lit pumpkins and fake cobwebs, but my nephew said that we wouldn't be getting any treats from this house. I asked him why, and he said that the cat had told him. I noticed a gray cat sitting in the front garden of the house. We did indeed get no answer from the doorbell. A few days later, the police were seen outside the house. The owner had died in his sleep.
Oh, scary.
The cat told him, oh my God.
There's just it's like an endless.
Yeah.
I'm sure if we
I'm trying to
like
find like a good one to be like, this is the end one. Like I'm trying
this
to
this
like,
is the one that's
this
gonna
is
make
it.
sure that you don't sleep.
Yeah.
I want more that like are like my kid said this and then there was like running down the stairs or like they said something in action. I think that's the scariest. This one kind of reminded me of Coraline. So this person says it's called Purple Mommy. When my son was first learning to talk, he would tell us about something called Purple Mommy. It could be an imaginary friend, but these details were a little creepy. Here's a few of the Purple Mommy details. It says Purple Mommy is all purple with long hair and bright, all white eyes. Purple Mommy picks him up at night and turns off the lights. We would often find my son out of his crib in the morning, which would mean him crawling over the railing and to the ground at the time when he was barely walking. Definitely found the lights in his room off a few times too, even though he's terrified of the dark. Purple Mommy needs a bandage because she has blood everywhere. Purple Mommy has no smile, meaning a mouth, and Purple Mommy can take her head off. Purple Mommy really doesn't like Daddy. He told us all of this stuff for maybe a year or a little more. If we ever asked where she was, he'd always point to the same spot, a corner of the room behind his open closet door. He would also wake up crying almost every night during this time. Once during a really rough night, my wife went to ask him what's wrong, and his answer was, Purple Mommy won't let me sleep.
No.
The part that got me was when Purple Mommy can take her head off.
Take
I
off
was
her
like,
head.
I was like, huh. And then like imagine being that dad. Purple Mommy can take off her head and she doesn't like Daddy. I would be like, okay, well, what bills does Purple Mommy pay in this
Yeah.
house?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Get out.
God. Let's see.
I think Purple Mommy probably is this. That's going to be on my mind for a
That's
little bit.
frightening. That's frightening. Hmm. These are too much. I cannot.
I feel like I'm getting to the good part of Reddit. I feel like we need like Jeopardy music.
When 9/11 happened, it was just a few months before. Oh my God. I can't even turn it off. I can't.
That's all right. That'll be our intermission music.
God.
The iPhone Samba.
Jesus. All right. When 9/11 happened, it was just a few months before my 4th birthday. Fast forward to the next summer when we got on a flight somewhere, and right after takeoff, I calmly look at my mom and asked her, is this the part where we fly into the towers?
What? Dude,
Oh
that
my
would freak me out.
heck no.
That would freak me out. I just don't do the plane stuff because I mean you never
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I got trust issues.
I was asleep when I heard a voice. I looked out the window and saw something like a bloody doll, and it was a kid saying trick or treat.
Ugh.
Good.
It's creepy. This one said this happened when my oldest son was 3. He's 9 now. I was coming out of my youngest son's, a few months old at the time, room one night after getting him back to sleep. My 3-year-old is standing in the dark in the middle of the hallway. He tells me that there is a man outside of the playroom asking to be let in. The man was all black and had no mouth, but he didn't let him in because he didn't know him and told him to leave. The playroom is on the second floor. It also has no doors to the outside, only windows. My 3-year-old wasn't scared at all and told me the story in the most casual way. About a week later, he asked me if I ever called the police to tell them about the man who was outside the window because he might try and get in someone else's houses and they might let him in. And the person edited it and said wanted to add because a few people had suggested it was a person that he saw that night. I didn't at the time, nor do I now think that it was a person. If someone were trying to get him, there is a window in his room that would have been much easier to get to than the window he saw them in. It really is the worst possible place for anyone to choose to get access to our house. I don't believe anyone would look at our house and choose those windows to break in. I also doubt that the windows were even locked because the risk is so small of anyone getting in that way. So if someone was trying to get in, like basically they couldn't. And he never mentioned it again after he asked about it. So he doesn't know what he saw that night. And he said, I don't know how long he had been up before I found him in the hallway, but I had been up for a little bit with his brother and didn't hear anything. So he's saying that it left after he wouldn't let it in. Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to end on this one. This is
Okay.
going to be, I'll end on this one. When my, I can't. When my
Okay.
twins were 3 to 5 years old, they were very morbid. They would walk up to random strangers, family, and ask if they knew when they would die. They usually answered no, so my twins would ask, "Do you want to know?" Do you want
What do
to?
you even say to that? No.
I'd be like,
Like,
no,
no, I'm good.
no thanks.
Shouldn't you be like playing on your leapfrog or something? Like, don't talk to me like that.
Oh my
The
gosh.
audacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a plethora of stories here and literally
I think
could
we've
just,
covered them all.
yeah, there's a lot. But if this hasn't creeped you out, I don't know what to tell you, but this is why you don't want to have kids, guys. Just
I think
avoid this problem.
you win with that purple mommy story.
I think the purple mommy story freaked me out because I'm
I,
still thinking about it. Like
yeah,
if
I
my
think
kid
you win
came to
with
me and
that.
said, "Hey, purple mommy can detach her
No
head," I would be like,
good.
yeah, let's not talk to purple mommy anymore.
Yes.
And now I'm like slightly concerned that Abi Yo-Yo. I said that and I'm like, watch. I'm like, something's gonna
You
fall
said
off
it
the
a whole bunch
wall.
of times.
I know. It's kind of addicting though, because it just like rolls off the tongue. But yeah, so don't have kids if you don't
Yeah.
enjoy absolutely
No.
terrifying encounters. If you are weak-skinned and cannot process the thought of a monster being in your child's closet, would
Then just
highly
don't.
suggest you don't become a
Yes.
parent because they
Nope.
do very off the wall shit that will probably permanently scar you for the rest of your life. So that's the advice from the Ghoulfriend Hour. We
The
hope that you
moral of the
enjoyed
story.
our super creepy,
Creepy
scary
children.
stories. Yeah. And we'll have to update you as life kind of moves along on our own experiences. I'm
No,
just
I don't want
waiting.
any. I don't want any
I'm
creepy things.
anticipating. Yeah, no more yours was pretty bad. I haven't I'm
Yeah.
not even I'm not finishing that sentence because I'm gonna jinx myself, but
I'll
that
be
was pretty
scarred by
bad.
that one. Yeah, I'm scarred by that
Yeah.
one.
So
And it's just so
I
funny because like kids are always so like casual about that stuff. Like, oh yeah. And like last night when I was freaking out, there was like a guy scratching out our eyes in a picture. I'm just like,
you know what would have made
you
that worse though?
what?
What would have made, again, this is another one of those, if action followed the story. Imagine you went down and like your faces were scratched out.
Burn the house down.
Yeah, I would be like, throw me in an oven and call it a day
Yes.
because I'm not,
Yep.
I can't live after that. Like,
Nope.
nope. Yeah,
You're
I
done. You're done
kids
here.
kids get weird. I feel like there's a lot of theories on like why kids do what they do, but I really think that that guy that did that brain scan stuff, like take some kids that tell you these reincarnation stories and tell you these like creepy things, scan their brains. Like I just want to know like how it differs from like a
Yeah,
child
what's
who
going on in
doesn't
there?
do scary, creepy, like
Yeah.
psychopathic things. Um, so yeah, so
Yeah.
if you guys have any creepy children's stories, let us know and write in. We're always looking because I know that you moms out there have them. And if you're not a mom, but you've been a nanny or a babysitter and you have scary babysitting stories, that'll be another good one because I don't know about you, Rachel, but the book, When a Stranger Calls, that's based like you ever see the movie When a Stranger Calls?
Mhm.
You wait, is that what it's called?
I think
No,
it
hold on.
is.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry. I always mix up One Missed Call and When a
One
Stranger
missed
Calls. But When a
call.
Stranger
Yeah.
Calls is the one I'm thinking of with the
Yeah.
babysitter because it's been
Yep.
a long time urban legend. But every time I would babysit, I would literally get so freaked out at night because I would always think about that. Like, what do you do? Like, I used to work for some very well-off families that they had like these big homes.
Big windows. Like
Yes.
it was, yes.
And like you just sit there and you're like, if I got
I'm
a
like, why
phone
is your
call,
house windows? Why first of
I'm
all?
always like, can you just
Like,
get blinds? I mean, I know blinds are expensive
yes.
as hell, but like, if you can't do the blinds, like at least get some like thick curtains, something, because I don't like feeling like I'm like babysitting in a greenhouse. Okay.
Yes.
Like, especially when I can't see what's looking at me, and something
That's exactly
probably
what it
is. Yeah.
is. Yes.
So, but that's the kind of stuff when it reminds me of. So, if you have any kind of like weird ghosty stories or like when a stranger calls kind of story, like if you ever had like a weird phone call or something weird happen,
We want to hear
definitely
weird stuff from
yeah.
people.
We like want to hear from you. So write in. We have the email. So you can either write an email if that's your thing. It's the ghoulfriendhourpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram has our link tree on it. You can DM me on TikTok, DM me on Instagram, really anything. And Rachel, you
Find
can
us
DM
anywhere.
her. Yeah, like really, you can just DM us. So slide up in our DMs and get extra weird, okay? But not too weird.
Mm,
There is a cutoff,
there's a
okay?
line.
There's weird and then there's just unacceptable audacity. So
Yes.
just don't be that person. But thanks for joining us for another episode of the Cool Friend Hour. Until next time, let's
Let's get
get weird. Ooh,
there
Rachel
it
went
is.
creepy that time.
There it is.
All right. Peace out, Cub Scouts.
See ya.
Bye.